I feel like this isn't talked about enough in the spiritual community, where as you continue healing on your journey, you are going to lose friends. You're going to stop resonating with individuals that you used to hang out with. Family members are not going to understand you, and you're probably going to fall off from certain family members. So let's dive into this topic. You know, when we start to heal, right? And I can use myself as a personal example. We attach ourselves to friends and family members or people to hang out with at the frequency that we vibrate at. So, for example, my Mexican side were alcoholics. So I learned at a very young age, from the age of 15, 14, that drinking was just a normal way of life. And as I started healing, as I started sitting with certain medicines like ayahuasca and mushrooms, I started to realize like how poisonous this stuff was, right? And I had made a decision after a year of doing plant medicine that I don't want to follow in the footsteps of my Mexican side. My father passed away young, 40s. My grandpa died of dementia because he drank basically his brain cells to death. And I didn't want that lifestyle. And so, I hung around with individuals who used to drink and who used to party. I used to go out and party and get girls and, chase women and drink every weekend. And, I was filling a void in that space. And there were certain individuals I went out with and drank all the time. And after a while, I didn't want to do that anymore, you know? And that's how we bonded, was around chasing girls and drinking and partying. And so I decided to let that go. And that friendship and those people that I hung out with just naturally started to fall off. And I remember, I probably had 3 or 4 waves of individuals and friendships that have fallen off. And I remember one of my first best friends, I was in a different country with him. And it was around the time when I first started doing healing work, and they were fist fighting in the middle of a country that I didn't know. One of them runs off into the middle of the city without his phone. And I'm just like, this happens every single time that we go out. And I remember just sitting there, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to be these guys as friends anymore. Like, there's just always some type of issue and chaos. And as you start to heal, you start to have discernment. You start to have a different level of vision for how people are acting. And I think, there's such a plethora of emotional experiences that you can have with that, right? You're grieving the loss of friends, you're grieving a lifestyle, you are in this limbo period each time you shed friends of like kind of being by yourself and not really having a group of individuals that you can resonate with. And it's lonely. And there's a lot of, aloneness in that. And there's a lot of, at least for speaking from my own experience, there's a lot of like not really trusting the process of like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be alone? Am I supposed to be letting go of these friendships? But I will say this, every time I let go of certain friendships that just naturally fell off, or I just didn't resonate with, or I just didn't like how certain individuals were treating me, there has always been something beautiful on the other side. And it never came with a time frame, but I've started attracting individuals who really took healing seriously, right? Like people who really want to look at themselves and people who are doing the healing work, so that, so, being friends with individuals that are just want to be good human beings started coming into my life. And it's been cool to like lean into certain communities and have like really long-lasting friendships with a few individuals because of those processes. And I will say that those types of friendships and are so much more nourishing to my soul, to my brain, so much more nourishing to my my emotional depth that I bring. And yeah, I think I'm saying this because it's like, if you're going through this phase of like not resonating with your friendships anymore, right? It's like there is something on the other side of that, right? As you heal, you let go of your darkness, and sometimes our darkness, that frequency that we hold within inside of ourselves, like attracts other people with very similar darknesses, right? And so the same thing with when we release that darkness, which is like trauma and the things that we've gone through that were hard, more of our light starts to shine. And then when more of our light starts to shine, people with the same frequency of light can see that and they can resonate with that and they're drawn to that. And it's easily like you're just more drawn to those individuals, and those types of relationships are much more satisfying. Right? And the same thing with like romantic relationships, right? Like especially if like if you're an individual watching this video, like I'm pretty sure like you are doing work on yourself, like you take your healing very seriously. And if you like date a partner who's you know maybe not doing healing at the same speed, or maybe not doing any healing at all, like that's like a recipe for disaster. And I learned that the hard way. That you're going to outgrow your partner, and your partner does, if they don't do healing work or at the same pace as you do, then there are going to be some speed bumps, and those speed bumps are going to become bigger speed bumps, and they're going to become dams, and then then there's going to be a lack of flow of love between you two, and you're just going to outgrow your partner. And that sucks. But the same thing happens of like, okay, now you have deeper discernment. Now you have a new level of awareness. Now you're like, okay, why was I attracted to that individual? And you start to heal from that. And now you can really start to attract an individual who is going to be on the same wavelength as you. So yeah, I'm also going through a process right now. Had someone who I thought was my friend dated someone that is dating someone that I used to date and didn't check in. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's how you want to move? Cool. So now I'm integrating a lot of like boundaries. I'm like, okay, I feel disrespected. Like, you didn't check in with me. You did that behind my back. Like, cool, we're not friends. Don't come up to me like we're cool, dude. Just completely cut off. Like, no explanation. Because I know he knew what he was doing was not okay. And so there's a lot of experiences like that. A lot of friends right now are like, I'm starting to really see how people are showing up, as I'm elevating my frequency, as I'm doing more inner work. I'm starting to see a deeper layer around, like, okay, I have these friends, and now I'm looking through the lens of like, let me really watch their actions, because I learned over this past year or 2 years that actions are also a style of communication. So I started taking a note of how people act around me, and seeing the consistency of their actions, and I'm like, oh, that's not something I want in a friendship, So there's a lot of filtering out processes happening right now. And yeah, if you're going through this process, like, it's definitely always a painful one. I think this is always going to happen, especially if you're very serious about your healing. So like being in that grief state, being in that limbo is challenging. Like, it definitely is challenging. So I think maybe my recommendation is like, give yourself some compassion and grace, and like maybe come back to faith that, Jimmy, change the framework, right? I've been really saying to myself, like, this is happening for me, right? All these people that are falling off, like, it sucks, but God is taking these people away from me, because like it's not serving me. Like, I want to be in friendships where I'm appreciated. I want to be in a relationship where I'm appreciated, and energy is reciprocated, and people understand what I bring to the table, right? And I tended to isolate during those times. So maybe start to be with your emotions, be with your griefs. Don't dismiss those feelings. And at the same time, like, get out there and like go to some cool events, some events that you're into. Maybe you like to dance, maybe you like to go to more conscious community events and meet like-minded individuals. And it's like, yeah, it's a little scary to get back out there and to test these new waters, but it's also part of the process. So if you're moving through this, like, I have a lot of compassion for what you're going through. And Oh man, you're probably moving through something of like, man, like I deserve better than this. And you're right. Like the more deeper you're healing, the more you realize like not everybody deserves your energy, because what you bring to the table, you know, the more you heal, the more you access your God energy, and the more you have your God energy, you know, there's people out there that want to, you know, be a succubus or not treat you right. And if you allow yourself to stay in those types of situations, it is draining you energetically and spiritually and mentally and emotionally. So it's good to take a, you know, every now and then take a nice little, you know, vision of like, are these relationships pouring into each other? Are these people pouring into me the way that I'm pouring into them? So hope that helped. And just a little video of something that popped up for me, something that I'm moving through right now. So you guys have a blessed day.